here, and I just want to do a brief impromptu stream. I have received a holiday gift this year. It's been rattling around in the back of my head for a very long time. Not a very long time, but about a year ago, I would say, I became aware that in 1970 there had been a film adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's story, The Dunwich Horror. Now, I have put it out there on my channel before, and I have I have other Lovecraft videos. My viewers know that I'm a big HPL cultist, unrepentantly so. And it's just now is a great time to be a Lovecraft fan. He has become newly controversial, and what that means is that publishers are in a rush to get editions of his work of varying degrees of quality, admittedly, out onto the shelves. Of course, H.P. Lovecraft's work is in the public domain, so anybody who wants to release an edition of his work and start selling it for money can do so. They don't have to talk to anybody. Some of these are very nice. Some of them are very budget conscious, but it's not difficult to get your Lovecraft on if you are so inclined. Now, Lovecraft's stories are good enough that they do sort of succeed in having that timeless quality to them. On the other hand, again, just like sports cars or firearms, there's kind of a Lovecraft renaissance going on. And in recent years, it's a good time to be alive and be a Lovecraft fan. This obviously is The Color Out of Space, starring Nicolas Cage. And, this film really does set a new standard for H.P. Lovecraft interpretations. Cinematic interpretations, I should say. Really good film generally, and good Lovecraft film. It's like, yes, they changed some things, but I don't object to any of the changes they made. This is an awesome film. However, this film is not what I'm streaming about today. I, through a relative's generosity, have received, I'll pull it out of the box. Eventually, ladies and gentlemen, I will be upgrading my hardware, but alas, my streams are kind of basic. So bear with me. Let's move Cthulhu out of the way so we can take a better look at this. So, this is Arrow Video's super spiffy edition of the 1970 film The Dunwich Horror, starring Dean Stockwell as good old Mr. Wilbur. And I'm going to do a very brief unboxing video and attempt to describe in general terms to you all what this film is about and why that matters, for Lovecraft, why that matters for this channel. Now, who the hell am I that you should be watching anything Lovecraft related about? Well, let's see. I have probably, as far as Lovecraft's horror short stories are concerned, I have probably read everything the man wrote that's considered a horror short story twice. And in some cases, I have read some of them 3 times. I've read a lot of Lovecraft in my time. And it's been a huge inspiration to me, to my creative process. His stories are oddly therapeutic if you're bit by the bug, and reading Lovecraft has gotten me through some difficult times in my life. And there's just the macabre and the cosmic horror of it all is very therapeutic. So, if you buy the Arrow, this film came out in 1970, and it is Roger Corman is in the background of this. He served as executive producer and the director of the film. Let's see, the director of the film was Daniel Haller, who was like an art director or something like that for Corman. Now, Roger Corman needs no introduction by me, but he was kind of a B movie kingpin in the 60s and the 70s, and maybe even a little earlier than that. He had made a series of Edgar Allan Poe films that were, they starred Vincent Price. So, I'm going to just mention that and leave it at that. Now, upon its release, this film divided the critics. Then and now, the critics, the experts, the talking people on the internet all say that this is among, if not the best successful cinematic interpretation of an H.P. Lovecraft story. Now, most of that commentary obviously comes before we had The Color Out of Space. Now, is The Color Out of Space a better Lovecraft film than the Dunwich Horror? I don't know. We're going to find out, as in I'm going to find out tonight because I haven't seen this film yet. So we're going to find out, are they in the same category? Did The Color Out of Space just, blow the handle off it? Some people said it wasn't a very, as I said, divided the critics. Some people said it's the best Lovecraft interpretation. Other people have said it's not even very Lovecraftian. Dean Stockwell, obviously, is a great actor who had like a 70 or 80 year career, started out as a child actor. People my age know him from Dune. We know him from Quantum Leap. We know him from David Lynch films. That's how people my age know him. But his career and his time in the sun was sort of before my time, as it were. I remembered him from when I was a kid because my mom liked Quantum Leap and I liked Dune and I liked David Lynch films, so consequently I know who the guy is. Great actor. He stars as Wilbur Whately, who's the sort of principal antagonist slash anti-hero of this Lovecraft short story, which is about a scion of a, shall we say, disturbed family who tries to make contact with what? With the other side, with the shambling, cosmic horror that only reveals itself to us as these tentacled monsters, and he steals a copy of the dread Necronomicon in an attempt to do so. So that is a very, very basic outline of what the story is about. He needs the Necronomicon to perform an occult ritual to summon the great old ones. Obviously, I'm sure, let's see, it's a 2K restoration of the original camera negative. It's a Blu-ray, 1080p. It was recorded in mono. It was not recorded in stereo, and that's thus how it is presented here. You've got featurettes, you've got audio commentary, you've got a nice dust case. Let's slide it out of there. Eventually, I will be able to do these streams a lot better than this, but you're going to just have to bear with me. So you get your nice dust cover. You get a very nice, this is a kind of sturdy, thick and heavy for a DVD case. I've paid good money for DVD cases that were a lot shittier than this. Look how thick this case is, and it's solid. It's meaty. So they didn't, Arrow Video did not skimp on the presentation here. Let's see if I can get it open with one hand. There we go. Okay. So you have your disc, and you have this, let's see if I can slide it out here without wrecking it with one hand. There we go. Got this, well, let's see, what do you got? You have decently sized booklet. I'm sure it is filled with urbane and witty commentary by a snazzy film critic, and reading this, you're going to be able to walk away feeling like you are an even bigger nerd than your other nerd friends who you want to tell about this, but you know they haven't seen it. Ooh, look at this. We have an advert for some kind of ungodly, dismal, degenerate Italian 1970s, some kind of something. I don't even know. It's like, whoa. See what you're missing. Well, sign me up. Where do I go to not miss this? But, it's like, okay, so there's nothing earth-shattering here, but it is a very nice, everything is solid and thick, and the edges are sharp and crisp, and this is a very impressive presentation. Now, for just a little bit of context, if you try to learn a little bit about the film, of course, you pull up Wikipedia, and honestly, they have a pretty decent cast here. Sandra Dee was like this childhood actress, like Dean Stockwell, who came to despise a lot of the films she'd done for Universal Pictures and jumped into, this as soon as she could because she wanted to reset her career. Dean Stockwell, we know. Ed Begley, this was his final film, and he played the bully character in the film 12 Angry Men with Henry Fonda. And then Sam Jaffe had a role as the scientist in the old film The Day the Earth Stood Still. Again, if you're a nerd, that's an important film, and he had an important supporting role in that film. Lloyd Brockner was, again, some kind of B-movie star. I was just reading through all of this, and actually, the point of it is this film has a real cast of real actors. These are not B film or C film ashcan nobodies. This film has a real cast of serious actors. It was made in 1970. Allegedly, there's still plenty of psychedelic, posterized visual effects, and that was getting to be dated by the time this film came out. So some people were critical of that. Some people said that was starting to get to be lame. Other people said it just wasn't very Lovecraftian. Other people have said it is the best Lovecraftian adaptation. So I'm very much, I'm not going to be holding the Dunwich Horror to the standard of The Color Out of Space. No, no, no. We do not judge something from 1970 by the standards of the present. We do not gnaw on our kitty. But it must be said, we now know that Lovecraft can be successfully adapted to film. And we also know that there are a great many terrible adaptations. I mean, there aren't a great many terrible... There are actually very few specifically, explicitly Lovecraftian adaptations. There's a lot of films, or I should say, there are more films out there that, draw heavily from H.P. Lovecraft, or it comes out that, okay, this film really is sort of based on a short story by Lovecraft, but we're going to change the title, we're going to set it in the present day, we're going to do all kinds of things to sort of pull the punch and make it incongruous and hedge our bet and sort of not take too much of a risk of putting Cthulhu's tentacled face on it. there's a lot of those from the 80s mainly, and some of them are just plain bad. Some of them are so bad they're good in a bad kind of way, others are just bad. So it's with all this in mind that I'm going to be watching this tonight. But it's like I don't ever set up a film to fail ahead of time, or I don't like try to introduce some kind of rate limiting, well, based on what I know and what Wikipedia says, what people say about Lovecraft, what Lovecraft might have said, what an actor who stars in a modern film about him might say about him. No, it's like this film is going to get its fair audience, but it's like I mean, I started watching VHS in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and back then, something like this might have seen a very poor copy VHS release. If you had a large blockbuster video in your town, okay, this might or might not have been on the shelf. You probably weren't going to go for it. This is, by the time VHS came around, these were not the types of films they were pushing. They said, let's push Aliens, let's push Terminator 2. This had already sort of come explosion. And I think that something that works against a film like this, with both with people my age and with people who are young, crucially people who are younger than me, is that this was never real. Something like this was not marketed to us when we were in our cool man teens and 20s. So, and the 60s and the 70s were a rather troublesome transitional time. And I just think that this film, just by virtue of kind of being old and a number of factors that have nothing to do with Lovecraft and some things that have to do with Lovecraft, nowadays this film is probably kind of forgotten. And the impulse is going to be, well, let's create a new Lovecraft. Let's do something like this. Let's, fix a couple of HP's problematicals, and let's make something we can relate to like this. And meanwhile we'll keep publishing these and manufacturing these, and let's not take a look back. But I am nothing if not a file, and I can't stand it when you have people who, I mean, I appreciate their honesty, but it really annoys me when people say they're into films, and I ask them, okay, well, great, so am I. What kind of films do you like? And they're like, oh, the MCU. And it's like, again, on the one hand, hey, thanks for being honest with me. On the other hand, people who are into the MCU sometimes, not all the time, they won't watch films that don't have that hyper saturated, ultra hyper real resolution or color palette. If it was made in the 70s, if the soundtrack isn't, either epic strings or synthesizer, it's like music from the 70s and 60s, the lower resolution, just the kind of older approaches to the technical aspects of filmmaking. There's people who cannot sit still for 90 minutes to watch a bad horror film if it's older than 10 years old. There's people who tell me straight up they will not watch a film in black and white. And more, I'm encountering people who tell me they just can't sit still for 90 minutes, to say nothing of 100 minutes or 120 minutes. And, it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they are. Me, by virtue of being a cinephile, it makes me hit the ceiling. Well, that's too bad for me. But since I am that way, and since I will do a detailed analysis and review of this video if I like it. If it's just a complete disaster, then no, obviously I'm not going to do an in-depth video. But if I really end up digging this, H.P. Lovecraft is important to me. Um, Old films that are good are important to me. So it's like, if this film reaches, then I am going to want to make the case for that. So I'm going to watch this tonight, and if it rubs my fur the right way, expect to see a detailed review and analysis of it soon. So that's basically what I wanted to share with y'all right now. And whether or not we see the Dunwich Horror back here on the Eye of Stone, you all can expect a new Thief video very soon that I'm working very hard on. And I'm really pumped about it. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you all laters and afters.